All right, guys, if you watched my last video, I said I was going to end it by doing some harder ones in my next video. So that is this. These are these secant segments and tangent segments in these circles. We're going to have some missing parts, and we're going to help find those today by multiplying those together in some certain ways. If we have two secant segments, like in this first circle, we're going to take the outside part x and multiply it in to the whole thing in that same secant segment. So the whole thing, we have to add those together, x plus 1. So x times x plus 1. Again, it's the external times the whole, if you want to think of it that way. We're going to do the same thing for the bottom. In this case, that's going to be 1 times 1 plus 5 is 6. Or you could just do 1 times 6 is 6. But either way, let's distribute this in and get x squared plus x equals 6. Okay? Now, if I would just have an x squared or just have an x term, that'd be fine. We could solve for that. But when I have both, we have to do what's called factoring. Again, if you need to know maybe how to factor and you're not sure, I'll put a video up here for you on factoring that you can watch on your own. Okay, otherwise, we're going to set this equal to 0. So I'm going to move the 6 over and get x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. And then I'm looking to find two numbers that multiply to be the a term times the c term. Some teachers use graphic organizers to help their students figure it out. Here, that's going to be a 1 times a negative 6, the a times the c. The b term is a 1, the number in front of my x here. And I want two numbers that multiply to be negative 6 and add to be 1. So that's going to be a 2 and a 3, but one of them is going to have to be negative. In this case, the 2 is going to be negative. All right, negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Negative 2 plus 3 is a 1. All right, so down below I can put in parentheses those same numbers, x minus 2 and x plus 3, or positive 3. It still equals 0. So set this equal to 0 and solve for both. What minus 2 equals 0? That's going to be 2. And over here, what plus 3 is going to be 0? That's going to be a negative 3. All right, now I just have to double check in my problem that these make sense. Sometimes some of them don't. And so when I put it in, only the positive one's going to work, because right away I see that this distance right here has to be positive since it is a distance. Distances can't be negative. Therefore, my negative 3 answer does not work. All right, just is going to be 2 for the answer to this first problem. All right, let's try another one. This time, instead of having two secant segments, we have a tangent segment and a secant segment. The secant segment is going to be the same way. We're going to take the external times the whole. So here, x times the whole thing is x plus 6. But since I don't have two things to multiply with that 4, I have to kind of take it times itself, all right? Or do 4 times 4, or 4 squared is how you'll probably see it in your textbook, all right? 4 squared, of course, is 16. And then if I distribute in on the other side, x times x is x squared, x times 6 is 6x. All right, same thing. We're going to move that 16 over and get this equal to 0. X squared plus 6x minus 16 equals 0. And then factor. Again, two numbers that multiply to be negative 16 and add to be 6. I think you should be able to figure out that's an 8 and a 2. And of course, the 2 would have to be negative. All right, so we're going to have x minus 2 and x plus 8. If you're not sure about that and you need to do the graphic organizer, you can. Again, that was a 1 times a negative 16. The b term was a 6. And the two numbers that worked were negative 2 and 8. Negative 2 and 8. They multiply to be negative 16. They add to be 6. Set those equal to 0. And here, x minus 2. Well, what minus 2 is going to be 0? X has to be a positive 2. In this one, x has to be a negative 8 in order for negative 8 plus 8 to equal 0. So x equals negative 8. All right, again, if I look at my problem, since this is a distance for x, x cannot be the negative 1. It has to just be the 2. So again, the 2 is what works. The negative 8 does not. Hey guys, if you found this video helpful, please help me out and like this video. And until next time, keep doing your math homework fast and accurately.